book to stay here. All right, now, when we've done a lot of spacing in here because we want our drawings to read well, right? So we center it, we take a lot of pride in how this thing looks. You have one other thing to account for now. When we center it, we basically use the rectangular method where we just figure the total distance, we subtract what the object takes, and we calculate the spaces, right? Isn't that how you space this thing? Well, we've got another item now. Figure the dimensions are part of your object. So like if I'm dimensioning this, I would highly recommend that you do a technical sketch of it before you start dimensioning it, because you want to get it spaced correctly. You draw these on the computer, print them, dimension them by hand. That's what the instructions will tell you. Now, when I look at this, I in essence say, hey, how am I going to dimension this guy? I know I need a height dimension. Okay? It's going to go probably right here. Okay? How far is this dimension set off? Your first dimension line sits how far off the object? If you don't know, you do have
1 inch.
It's 0.38.
you have a cheat sheet.
Oh, 0.5.
Okay, that first dimension line sits a ½ inch off the object. Okay. Now when I do the top one here, okay, I'm going to either do this dimension right here and that one. So I'm going to give those two. Now, I think it's 6 1/2 dozen another if I give that one or that one. 6 1/2 dozen another, right? No matter what, how much are you adding to the object? You're adding for this guy 0.5, this guy 0.38. So now when you figure your spacing, you've got to take this size plus 7/8. Then I'm going to want that space, then I'm going to want my object and another space. But now I have, let's see, there's width, there's height. The only thing I don't have is depth. Okay, so I'm probably going to have, let's see, if I'm going to give that one, I better give this guy too. So I'm going to have that one, and that. There gives all my depth. Point being, take these dimensions into consideration when you're spacing the object and drawing it on the machine. Apply the dimension to the object. Okay. So instead of it being, I think these are what, a ½ inch? So it's 1, 2, 3 long. Well, no it isn't. It's 3 7/8 long. Does that make sense? Plan for these dimensions when you draw them and space them for your print.
So the 0.5 is each object is separate. So it's not continuous. It's like you said 0.5 off the first one and 0.3 off the other, but you've taken each object on its own. That's why you did the 0.5 off the top.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then okay.
Yeah. That one goes there. If you ever get a view that doesn't have a dimension on it, what does that tell you?
Listed somewhere else.
It's probably not needed, right? Because you're not given any new geometry. It's one of the big keys. I mean, we've talked about multi-views. Do I give a front, top, right? Do I give a rear? Do I do an auxiliary view? And I said several times we do this, how do we know when it's unnecessary? Well, if you don't have a dimension on it, it's probably not necessary. Now you know. Okay. So if you get out here and you're doing these and you don't put a dimension on one, like here, okay, if I had the right side view of this, let me just draw that real quick. Okay, the right side view would be sitting here, and it's going to look something like that, right? Okay, and I'm not going to have any dimensions on here because only height is, I've given it here. This is not a good geometric look at that break. Okay, the geometric dimensioning tells me those dimensions go up here. This would have 0 dimensions on it. So therefore, I'm going to look at it very closely and probably not give that. So kind of watch out for that also. All right, so that's really the big thing I wanted to do is we go ahead and do these to make sure you take that dimension into account in your spacing so that your drawings still read well. Don't have a bunch of white space, everything crowded in one little corner. Okay, we want to present the drawing. All right, that's what I wanted to cover today. Are there any questions on what we talked about? Tomorrow, we'll look at the different dimensioning styles like chain dimensioning, coordinate dimensioning. These types are towards the start of the chapter. I think you had some questions for review on them. So we'll look at those in detail, what a dual dimension is and all these different topics. Then we're going to switch to geometry and look at specific types of geometry. Now, some other things on the schedule today. We're doing Revit today. We'll do about 50 minutes of it. I'll start approximately 10:30. We'll do no more than an hour on it. Get started on that. And then also the INL's coming in 1:30, and he said it'll be around a half hour unless he gets a bunch of questions. The INL, if any of you don't know, the Idaho National Laboratory, they have always been great supporters of this program. They've hired a lot of our students. It's a good employment stream. They pay very well if you are interested in going to that part of the state. And I know a couple of you are. Specifically, I hope Amy comes. She wants to go back to the Idaho Falls area for sure. Most of their drafters either work out in the on-site, which is between Arco and Idaho Falls. I think they have about a quarter of their drafters there. The rest of them are all in Idaho Falls. And some of you may not be interested in one bit. That's fine too. So that'll happen at 1:30. So not a lot of time to really work today. Let's be productive while we can. That's why I'm stopping right now. I'm not going to go into that second portion that we normally do. Any questions?